Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com, and I wanted to spend a second to talk to one of our contributors at Your Black World. Her name is Ree. She is Ree, the Relationship Guide, and she is our residential relationship expert here at Your Black World. She contributes and talks about relationship issues along with some of the other great contributors that we have. How are you today, Ree?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. I'm here in Michigan now, and it's so funny staying in different hotels because you never know what you're going to get as far as an internet connection. And so, but when I reached out to you, I wanted to talk to you about some of the topics you've been writing about this week. You write about relationships pretty much every day, and you have a lot to say. And the article that really got a lot of buzz, got a lot of attention this week is you wrote 4 reasons why good guys, and you put the word good in quotations. Good guys are overlooked. And a lot of people had an issue with some of that. And and I guess, maybe, I don't know, myself, when I think about good guys, I think about nice guys. And so what do you mean, when you talk about good guys? What is your interpretation of that?
A good guy is somebody that, has a career, is, respectful of women, and it's just basically, organized. I mean, it's hard for me to put it in words, but all I can think of is like a good guy. Like he's respectful, he's responsible, and he has a lot to bring to the table in terms of, in a relationship. So that's my definition of a good guy.
Mm-hmm. So when you say a good guy, a nice guy could be a good guy. And
yes,
I guess,
absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. A nice guy it could be a good guy. Well, I guess you would say every good guy would probably be a nice guy, but not every nice guy is a good guy, right? Because I could be nice and and be like rolling with a bus pass, flipping burgers or right out of the county jail, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Not to say the brothers who don't have a lot going on can't be good mates. We know that that's not true. But when you talk about a good guy, you're talking about somebody who makes a good, solid partner for a woman. Am I correct?
Yes, that's true, but that doesn't take away from the guy who is flipping burgers and stuff. I mean, like you said just a second ago, he can still be a good guy as well. It's just at this moment in his life, he's not where, he could be. He's striving to get there. So he is also considered a good guy as well.
Right. And really, a quote unquote good guy for one woman may not be a good guy for another woman. Right. So that exactly. Guy who does whatever may be a fit for one woman and not for another. So let's get to some of the things that you mentioned here. The first thing you mentioned that could be a limitation for quote unquote good guys when it comes to dating opportunities is being an introvert. What do you mean by that?
Just not being able to communicate with people, especially women, or whatever you're interested in. But in this piece, I am discussing men and women. So not being able to talk to a woman with confidence, or approach the woman, and just kind of introverts don't really express themselves to people. They keep it all within themselves. So I think that that's kind of a strike against men, especially because society has, said that men should be the leaders of the household. So if you're introverted and you're not able to express your feelings to people or women in this case, then I mean, how does she know that you can, make sound decisions when it comes to taking care of the household?
Okay. And the second thing you mentioned is he's hanging with the wrong crowd. Now what do you mean by that?
Well, some guys, you'll have good guys that are hanging around a crowd of, I guess, the bad guys, the guys who are the players, or the guys who don't really make too many good decisions when it comes to, who they engage in relationships with. And so sometimes if you're in that crowd of, players or whatever, immature men or whatever the case is, it's really difficult for a woman to believe that you are the good guy in the crew, because, the cliche birds of a feather flock together. She's going to automatically assume, well, if he's hanging with these guys and I know for a fact that they're, disrespectful towards women or they're players, more than likely he's a player as well. Not to say that that's right or wrong to have that kind of assumption, but that's just, the reality of the situation. More than likely, if you're hanging with a crowd of people that, portray a certain image, you're going to be affiliated or associated with that image as well. So I think some good guys are overlooked because they have associated themselves with the bad guys.
Okay. And you also mentioned that sometimes unhealthy relationships with relatives of the opposite sex can get in the way, like a mother or a sister that doesn't allow him to date. What do you mean by that? Hey, how can your mama tell you if you can date or not? I don't get that.
That's a good question. I wrote an article about mama's boys. There are some very overbearing siblings. I know I can speak to from my own experience. One of my previous relationships, the guy had a female cousin who was just, absolutely overbearing. She would purposely, make these outlandish requests when we're on the phone. She would come into the room and say, okay, who are you talking to? And just deliberately trying to cause conflict in our relationship. And I always thought it was very peculiar. Like, I used to be like, does she like you? Does she want to date you? I don't understand. Unfortunately, I do think the good guys, they may have an overbearing mother or sister who, knows that they are a good guy, and they just don't see any woman who is fit to be with him. So they would rather sabotage every relationship he gets in, as opposed to, kind of sitting back and taking the back seat and saying, well, he's an adult. I'm going to see how this woman, treats him. I'm going to give her a chance. It's like they initially just chop the woman's head off the moment that he brings her around, because his attention is no longer solely given to them, So.
So it sounds like you're talking about those relationships where or maybe situations where the son is the man of the house because his mother doesn't have a partner, and so she depends on the son and doesn't want another person diverting or taking his attention away from her. Would that be an example of what you're talking about?
That is an example, but there are mama's boys who were raised by their mom and father. I know quite a few men who have, who were raised by both parents, and they have siblings, and for some reason their mom just is very overbearing with them for some reason. So yes, to answer your question, but also I know circumstances where the guy was not the man of the household for his mom. She's married, and she's still very much, concerned with her son's dating life.
Interesting. So you the last thing you mentioned is that the guy might be a pushover, that might get in the way. Now explain that, the pushover thing.
So the pushover kind of, basically it kind of reminds me of like when we were discussing like a nice guy earlier in this conversation. So you have some guys who, and Common discussed this in his autobiography, One Day It'll All Make Sense, where they kind of conform, like they will kind of shell or, hide their own like ideologies or whatever to accommodate whichever woman they're with. So instead of like having their own self-identity, they literally conform and like mold according to how their partner is. And so, I know that, there's a surge in like the independent black woman in the community. But a woman still wants a man to take control. Let's just be honest, like, we can still be independent and not, have to make every single decision when it comes to our relationship. So, a relationship is a two-way street. So I think it's important that men like step up to the plate and make some sound decisions and correct their woman when she's wrong, as opposed to like trying to find reasons to support something that she's doing that he knows is obviously not right. And so that's what I'm talking about with that one. The nice guys, unfortunately, or the good guys in this case, they do tend to be pushovers sometimes. And a woman simply does not like that. I mean, and I guess that's why a lot of guys feel like, oh, well, she wants the bad guy who's going to mistreat her. Well, I don't think women, want to be mistreated. I just think women look for that authoritative, male sometimes. You don't want somebody who you can just completely walk over all the time.
Interesting. Wow. Well, I think that you've given us a lot of food for thought, and as you always do. I mean, everything that you write is really good, and I'm going to process that because I think that there are a lot of good guys out there that are watching this that are trying to figure out, what am I doing wrong? And, and you're right. And I mean, in some cases it's very easy to say, oh, well, women only want guys who are going to treat them poorly. And we know that that's true in a lot of cases, unfortunately. But I think that, the idea that maybe you're doing something wrong as the man has to also be taken into account. So brothers out there that are watching, don't be mama's boys. Don't be pushovers. Man up a little bit. Be proud of who you are. Be confident and still be a nice guy. And then you will get the woman that you deserve. Am I right, Ree?
You are right.
All right. Well, thank you. That is Ree, the relationship guide. You can check her stuff out on Your Black World, also on Black Light Moi. She's our resident relationship guru, and she keeps it balanced. She talks to men and women and kind of gives them both what they want to hear. And I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and thank you for checking us out. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.